So the question is this. I thought of this yesterday when we put up the player efficiency ratings, and I realized that LeBron James and Anthony Davis are second and third all time in that statistic that basically judges just how good a player is. So it got me to thinking, if it all works out, they could be the greatest duo in NBA history. If they're going to be that, which duos do they need to surpass? Here's my fundamental list, the 5 greatest duos in NBA history, and at number 5, I decided to put KD and Steph. Now, this was a very tough choice for me because they've only been together a short period of time, and it meant a lot of players who were together a lot longer got left off the list. But I couldn't ignore this because when together, they were unstoppable. In the NBA Finals together, their teams were 9-1. 9-1 in the finals. They outscored opponents by 425 points when they were on the floor together in the last 3 postseasons. The first year they were together, they went 16-1 in the playoffs, and no one was going to beat them if they stayed healthy. They are at number 5. At 4, representing the all-time greats, I have Bill Russell and Bob Cousy. Russell and Cousy reached the finals all 7 seasons they played together. They won 6 championships in their 7 years together. They combined for 5 league MVPs during that time. Now, there were a lot of other directions I could have gone for some historical consideration here to give some love to the players who came before most people were our age or paying attention. Russell and Havlicek, for example, won 6 titles together as well. But I went back as far as I could to give the early NBA some love. At number 3, Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. Shaq and Kobe, who should have stayed together a lot longer.
Yeah.
At the time when they were together, they remain the last team to three-peat in the NBA right now. Shaq was the most dominant big in the sport, and it wasn't close. Kobe was the best wing in the sport, and it wasn't close. They won 3 championships and were barely challenged during those 3 years along the way. They are, again, one of those great woulda, coulda, shouldas, and that if they'd stayed together another decade, who knows what might have happened. It was combustible. It didn't last as long as it could have. I put them at number 3. I'm anticipating people will argue that they should have been ahead of the group I have at number 2. Also Lakers, and that is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Magic Johnson. My thinking on this was pretty simple as I compared these 2 legendary Laker duos. Magic and Kareem were together longer. They won more championships. And historically, in my opinion, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is a greater player than Shaquille O'Neal, and Magic Johnson is a greater player than Kobe Bryant. I have gotten a lot of disagreement on that. You are welcome to your opinion. This is mine. To me, that's the 2nd greatest duo of all time. At number 1, and this wasn't as easy as it might have sounded, but I did go with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen for the simple reason that when together they were unbeatable, and they were the only 2 members of all 6 Bulls championship teams. And had it not been for not 1 but 2 premature retirements by Michael Jordan, who knows what these 2 might have accomplished together. Scottie Pippen, I think, sometimes is a tad overlooked. If you consider historical greatness, he is a step behind every other player that you see on this screen when it pops back up again. But he did lead all 6 of those title teams in assists. They won 6 championships together, and had Michael stayed longer, in Chicago, they use the phrase minimum 8-peat, my friend. Who knows what they might have done. So this is my list of the 5 greatest duos of all time. Steph and KD was a very tough one for me because it knocked off LeBron and Dwayne Wade, which I gave serious consideration to. It knocked off Karl Malone and John Stockton, which I gave serious consideration to. Ultimately, I decided to take them off the list because they just never won a championship together, and that has to matter somewhere in the equation. Bird and McHale was a combination that I considered, but I couldn't put it ahead of anything here. So that's my list. What do you think?
I like your list. And Stephen and KD, with the small sample size, I think if KD would have stayed healthy and they could have won the championship this year, then they were going to continue to win championships if they would have stayed together. So I like that. Shaq and Kobe, I like that pick as well. I probably would have switched those 2 because when Shaq and Kobe were together, if they could have coexisted, I don't think they would have lost in that time period. So, but everything else up there, I really like.
What do you say, Tim?
I like Magic and Kareem at 2. I'm with you on that. The first thing I thought of was a no Oscar Robertson and Kareem also, which obviously is a pretty dynamite combo. Obviously you mentioned Malone and Stockton. And the other one that I don't think gets enough long-term respect is Moses Malone and Julius Erving. Like that team, that Philly team was awesome when you go back to the 80s. I mean, you mentioned Bird and McHale, but
The 83 Fo Sixers, in my opinion, in any one individual season was the best team that I ever saw. That was the first year that Moses came to the Sixers.
Yep.
He was the MVP of the league that year, but they were together and great a very short time over the course of their history. The combinations that I considered knocking these two off for, LeBron and Dwayne Wade. They only played together for 4 years. They made the finals all 4 years.
Yeah.
Had they won the first one, had it not been so bad the first year, I think I would have considered putting them where Steph and KD are. And by the way, these two may still have more to do together.